Made possible by a grant from the Boeing Company.
Tonight on Life and Times, there are more single women than ever before.
I love this lifestyle, wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I have the freedom to do what I want, when I want.
With a 70% black women living without spouses, I think it's time to bring attention to it that, hello.
And then, it's half River Rock, half Adobe, and it was once the place to be seen in Los Angeles. A look inside the historic Lummis House. It's all straight ahead on tonight's Life and Times.
Life and Times is made possible through the generous support of the L.K. Whittier Foundation, dedicated to improving the quality of life by supporting innovative endeavors in the fields of medicine, health, science, and education. And by a generous grant from Jim and Ann Rothenberg.
The traditional American family is no longer the typical American family. Only about a third are made up of mom and dad and the kids at home. What's growing is the number of unmarried women, in particular African American women. So what's behind this trend, and are single women happy about it? Sam Louie has our story.
Cece Healy is the quintessential 21st century American woman. She's worked in film and TV production for more than a decade. 9 years ago, she was able to buy her own home in Laurel Canyon.
I love this lifestyle, wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I have the freedom to do what I want, when I want.
Cece is 36, successful, and single. She's not against marriage, but her parents encouraged her to dream big.
I really want to get my career very well established. I want to be financially secure and happy with myself. And then, you know, if I found a husband, that would be the icing on the cake.
In fact, for the first time in history, Census Bureau statistics show more women are living without a spouse than ever before. 10 years ago, that figure was at 47%. Today, it's now at 51%. Bear in mind, the government considers anyone 15 and older as marriageable. Still, there are more single women in our society than ever before.
The expectations around marriage are really quite different.
Dr. Judith Jackson Fawcett is an associate professor of American Studies at USC. She says women in the workplace see marriage as a relationship between partners rather than dependency.
This is not a question of marriage being something that you needed to enter into in order to have the kind of security that, say, that you would have needed in the 19th century or even earlier in the 20th century.
Dr. Jackson Fawcett says she sees the trend towards independence in her own female students.
Students are desperately interested in the nature of what they are going to be doing in terms of a professional life.
You know, it's okay to get a career off the ground before you find Mr. Right.
But finding Mr. Right is also taking longer. The Census Bureau reports that compared to women in 1970, today's women are waiting an average of 5 more years before tying the knot. Cece considers that a good thing.
I think women kind of want to date more and play the field and weigh their options before they get married. And I think that hopefully will, you know, allow the divorce rate to drop and people to end up in marriages that they should be in.
Cece lived through several divorces growing up and doesn't want to make the same mistakes as her parents.
Having come from 2 parents that went through 6 marriages and 5 divorces impacted me greatly. It's a painful thing to watch somebody go through.
The high divorce rate is another factor for the increase in single women.
My thought is that that's got to enter into that number of 51%. So it's a question of, again, trying to get at what's underneath that metric and not simply focusing on that particular number.
Dr. Jackson Fawcett also says it's important to remember this broad category of singles includes divorced moms, women cohabitating with men, and a growing number of lesbian couples.
To me, it's really illustrative of the kind of issues, the kind of pressures on the state of marriage and on where we are.
But being single is a different experience for many African American women. Census figures show that 70% of black women are unmarried. For many, it's not about independence. It's about an acute shortage of eligible black men.
Right now, with a 70% black women living without spouses, I think it's time to bring attention to it that, hello, we're here, black women need love too.
Pearl Jr. is the author of a book by the same name. She wrote it as a plea to persuade black men to assume their role as head of the household.
As black women, we are really overwhelmed. We are the mother, we are the father, we are the provider, we're the protector, we're the nurturer, and we just really have too much to do as black women.
Unfortunately, Pearl says a disproportionate number of African American men are in prison, and those who are available have not been taught family values.
A lot of our sons don't grow up with a father. So if they don't see a man in a man's role loving, honoring, cherishing a black woman, he depends on the media to teach that to him. And the media right now is not very kind to black women.
And she adds, relations between women and men make a deep impact on the black community.
It is a shared partnership, and we need to get back to those family traditional values in order to uplift society, because right now it's just such an imbalance. Our children, 50% of children, especially black children, are not graduating from high school.
Jackson Fawcett says black women are at a further disadvantage in interracial relationships.
Interracial marriage, and I'm talking here about African American interracial marriage, are highest amongst black men and white women.
Regardless of race, single women have made significant strides in two important areas. There are now more women on college campuses than men, and more single women have become homeowners.
I've noticed that my business in terms of single women buyers has increased tremendously. I would say it represents about 20–30% of my business, or increase in my business.
Terry Williams is a real estate agent for Prudential California Realty in the Larchmont District. She says single women are the fastest growing segment of home buyers.
I think the most important aspects are feeling rooted to a community, finding a community that you feel safe in, that you want to raise your kids in, where there's a grocery store and, you know, a barbershop to get your son's haircut. You know, I think we all want that sense.
But what do these trends mean for our larger society? What will higher educated, professional, home-owning women mean for the American family? Will it get stronger or weaker? What will women without spouses mean a decade or two down the line? While experts are still unsure if the trend will continue, it's clear traditional gender roles will be displaced with new ones.
Your husband is now both your lover, your financial partner, your intellectual interlocutor, your companion, and that and that you're asking everything of that person.
So are you guys about ready for me to come by?
As for Cece Healy, although she enjoys her freedom, she's still keeping her eye out for that special someone.
I definitely do want to get married, but I definitely want to get married once, and I don't ever want to get divorced. So yeah, I'm going to take my time.
I'm Sam Louie for Life and Times.
So what do you think of the trend towards singlehood? You can post your opinion on our blog. Just go to kct.org and click on the Life and Times blog.